everyone. I'm Megan Rejman. Tonight I'm guest hosting the Made from Scratch broadcast, usually hosted by Gabe Leal. He's actually behind the scenes tonight playing technical director. So thank you, Gabe, and thank you for this opportunity to guest host for you. I am the host and creator of Showy8, Brainstorm in Progress. It's a creativity podcast for those doing creative work and living creative lives, where I focus on problem solving using your creative process. But tonight on Made from Scratch, I am interviewing my guest named Jackie Moore, who is a woman who defines the term on a mission. I'll let her tell her story in a moment, but in the meantime, I would love for her to be able to come on and say hello, if that's possible. If not, then I want to go ahead and say before we get into our chat, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us on Made from Scratch broadcast on LinkedIn Live. If you don't know already, you can catch the show here on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just type in Made from Scratch broadcast, and the show will show up. And if you do, and don't forget, you can catch the show every night at 7 p.m. Central, right here on LinkedIn, Monday through Friday, for compelling interviews with people who are creating great stories with their lives, and we share those stories right here. All right, so now that we have that settled, Jackie, I'm so happy that you're on the show with us tonight.
Man, I'm happy to be here too. Good to see you.
I got to get the wave in the right place. I'm figuring out how to get into the camera angle. Yeah. So I'm so excited to have you on the show tonight, because when I heard your story, I just thought, now this is a woman who understands the concept of made from scratch, because basically you started a robotics team for teens on the south side of Chicago out of nothing. And I want you to be able to share that story. But first, I want us to get to know you a little bit better. Who is Jackie?
Basically, I'm just a Southern. I'm from Memphis. Grew up on the south side of Chicago. My home could have just as easily been in Memphis, because all of our Southern traditions came with us. Traditions like everybody eats, everybody has a place to stay. No one does well without the other. If you need something, you make it. And if you don't know it, you go learn it. Very simple, basic things like that.
Well, it sounds like those have been the basic tenets for your life and the work that you're doing now, which of course I will let the audience hear from you. But also, you and I had a conversation before the show tonight to get to know each other a little bit better. And you described yourself as a computational thinker. Now, what does that mean?
So it's a certain way of looking at life where honestly, it means I'm lazy. So I'm always looking for ways that I can take things that have to be done that are repetitive. I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for opportunities to find ways that technology let me do things differently and better. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we do is revolves around patterns and algorithms and decision trees we have to go through. Mm-hmm. And when you do it in a very methodical way, and you are consistent about it, you're actually thinking computationally. Mm-hmm. And that's a fancy way of saying, can I get a computer to do it for me?
You're right. Well, I think that's very important, because that kind of helps set up the mindset of how you look at the world and how you were able to problem solve for this endeavor that you took on. But the most important thing is you are a mom first and foremost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm one of those girls who grew up wanting to be a mother. I never wanted a boyfriend. I wanted a husband. I wanted to be a mother. Couldn't do it alone. Mm-hmm. Not opposed to being a wife and that stuff. Being a mother was important to me. And that I consider myself as sort of a mom, not only just to my natural children, mm-hmm. but in a way to all the children. It's sort of a very maternal instinct. My kids are important to me. They were a gift from God. So I have a responsibility to educate them, prepare them for the world, and do what I can to launch them into the world as productive citizens.
Mm-hmm. And so tell us a little bit more about that. I know that, so you've raised 3 kids.
Actually 4.
Oh, you've raised 4 kids.
Yes, okay. I have a 13-year gap between the first and the second.
Wow. So you really got to see some difference in there.
Oh, did I really? My eldest was educated in private schools from preschool through college. Mm-hmm. So when I started my next group of kids, 13 years later, I put them into the same school because it was a great school.
Mhm.
Until I discovered that about the first or second grade, that it was the same textbooks that my daughter had when she was at that school.
So you
13 years
start
later.
right, so you started seeing, discrepancies, like, it was like they weren't updating the
Well,
education.
not enough discrepancies is the problem. I'm saying that they was teaching the same material 13 years later.
Right.
There was no more technology in the classroom then than it was 13 years before, and that was unacceptable to me. My background is in technology, so I'm so aware of more things. So my eldest, for instance, who is 42 now, she had her first computer when she was 5.
Oh, wow.
And yes,
The
so to
technology
be in a school
for you.
that did not have any computers, teachers who were not computer literate was just wild to me.
Mhm. Yeah, so, when we spoke on the phone, you said that you were like the real PTA supermom and you got
Uh,
all involved, and
oh,
that
absolutely.
from seeing these discrepancies, that made you feel like I've got to do something about that. So
Absolutely. The reason I became super mom, super PTA mom, is because I felt I had something of value to offer. I've always felt that there's a problem. If I can solve it, I should try to do just that. And
mhm,
so I saw the discrepancy with the technology. So I stepped in and tried to help educate not just my students, my children, but the teachers, the staff, and other kids as well. So I did professional development classes to help them become more comfortable with the technology.
uh-huh. And
I,
so what did that look like and what did that turn into?
um, so over the years, it looked like a lot of different things. I did internet safety classes. I taught teachers how to develop online classes. I taught actually a long time ago, we were teaching second graders how to create PowerPoint back when PowerPoint was new.
Wow.
Because basically, I'm of the opinion that children can learn anything.
Mhm.
And the younger they are, the more open their minds are. So my students, my personal children, my flesh and blood, they were identified as being gifted at an early age, but not all at the same time. So there
Mhm.
was a time when I had my last 3 kids were in 3 different schools simultaneously,
Mhm.
even though they were only a few years apart in school. The first child to get into a gifted program gave me a different view that I had seen before when I suddenly realized that the school they came from did some really great things, but they didn't do them evenly. And the
Mhm.
gifted program she was in did some things wonderfully, but they
Mhm.
still were lacking science and technology, and there was still light on the math. And
Mhm.
engineering was totally non-existent. So I wasn't the only super mom. We all got together and wanted to try to enhance our kids'
With the
education.
tips on.
These are our kids. We got to get in there and do this. Um, but one of the things we had in common is that every child, every parent in this particular group had a child in a gifted program and at least one other that was not. Now, we don't love our kids differently, so we want all of our kids to have the best of everything. We took
Mhm.
out time. I took out time to educate myself about what gifted education looked like, um, and in doing so, I discovered that a gifted education benefits everybody.
Mhm.
You know, some of the hallmarks of the gifted education, differentiated instruction, allowing the kids to move their own pace, challenging them, then to move on when they're master material. That
Mhm.
works for everybody, and sometimes it even works better for those who are struggling.
Mhm. So how
So,
did all this lead to robotics?
oh, so one of the things that we did was we offered a lot of workshops and such. I created a full school book study where it was very immersive. It was based on Chasing Veneer here in Chicago, and we had activities around it. And we ran into an unexpected problem with the school administration. So we decided that we would move our programming outside of the school.
Mhm.
And as parents, we were always looking for opportunities. One of the parents discovered robotics. And when we discovered the robotics program, we discovered it addressed everything that we had been doing in a very disparate manner. It all of the STEM topics were covered: marketing, learning how to manage your time, project management. But the most important thing, team building, collaboration, group problem solving. Those sort of things that are going to make a big difference in their lives, no matter what career they chose.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we talked on the phone, you also said that you purposely wanted this team to be for teens specifically, and why is that?
So everybody takes care of the little ones. They're cute, they're fun. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but eventually that 12-year-old becomes a 13-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have given them all of this additional enhancement up until that point, and then nothing, what are they going to do? They end up on the corner, and
Right.
they become problems. So it was important to me to make sure that everybody was taken care of.
Right.
And so I decided I would choose the teens because they were the ones I felt had the best chance of making a difference for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were when we were talking about this earlier, you were saying that it seemed like a lot of the STEM programming addresses middle school children, but doesn't address high schoolers. And then the second piece was you felt that the decisions that teenagers were going to make were going to have a stronger long-term impact on society as a whole.
Absolutely. And if we can keep our teenagers engaged, if we can keep them enthused, then they actually tend to look at the world in broader strokes than a 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So they can understand that this technology I'm using right now that's fun can actually solve a real problem in the world because they're starting to face those things more.
Right. What does that look like? What are these tenets? What is the basic like philosophy of the team, the being part of this robotics team about?
So the team's mission basically is to be ultra inclusive, very cosmopolitan, meaning everybody belongs, is the best way to put it. Everybody belongs. No one's removed.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is to accomplish something that we cannot accomplish alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure we apply science and technology and engineering concepts to those things whenever we can.
Mm-hmm.
We know that STEM isn't the answer to everything,
Right.
but it certainly helps a lot of everyday things become easier.
Right. So I'm sorry, I didn't let you finish. You were about to say something.
Yeah, the approach that I take when I'm trying to design these programs is really kind of based on just the way children learn naturally, or as people learn naturally. So my goal is every program I put up together is to create a moment where the person participating says, "Wow, how'd you do that?"
Oh,
They're excited about it, and then to turn around and empower them to do it themselves, to move them from how did you do that to can I do that? And then to enable them to do that. Because once they do that, now they own it and excited about it, and they want to go teach someone else.
Oh, that's so cool.
You learn it forward, so to speak.
It sounds like you're trying to remove the veil of either insecurity or competition to let everybody know that, yes, this knowledge is available to everyone. Everyone can learn this.
Competition is not a bad thing, but we don't want that to be the main thing.
Right.
It's more important about working together, and we can compete together, and we can improve together. But yes, it is very important to me that everybody understands that I can do this. You can do this. You don't have to have someone else give permission to pursue something that's difficult, especially in this day and age of the internet, because I don't need you to give me permission to learn something. When I started the robotics program, I had zero experience, but I had 200% passion about it. So that drove me to remove the barriers that I thought were there.
What do the students get to do? What do the team members get to do when they're part of this team? Like, what does that look like?
So if you're part of the team, it's a year-round team, and people can come and go as they please. But if you're part of the team year-round, in the summertime, we do fun activities so they can learn some basic skills. So right now, I'll come to what they're doing a little bit later in a minute, but they do fun things. They create projects that are whimsical. We prepare things all summer long to present them at a maker fair at the end of the summer. But those very skills that we're using in the summertime, we then apply in a competition in the fall. So we take part in the first robotics competition, and in the fall, the first tech challenge meets from September to roughly January, February.
Mhm.
It's a series of competitions. So they're building upon, they're iterating, they're designing things basically, and then they do the same thing again in January, but at a much higher level.
Mhm.
So the whole concept behind the robotics competition is that it's a design challenge. You are given a difficult problem to solve. You're given very few resources, not enough time, lots of rules, and you do it anyway.
Wow, that's
So at
amazing.
the end of that, the kids are feeling empowered.
Right. And also, you were also mentioning that you do community outreach.
Absolutely. Our community outreach consists of creating fun activities for to teach other teams about it. So it's important for me that our teams get out in the public so that others can see them doing these amazing things, because the feedback they get when a total stranger goes, "Wow, how did you do that?" It
Mhm.
becomes a cyclical moment then, and they become invested in what they're doing, and they do a much better job because now they want to make sure that the next time they do it, they can do it even better.
Right.
Um, so our community outreach, we go to schools. We pre-pandemic, we did all sorts of public events. We would go to block parties, festivals, just so that people can see what robotics can look like.
Speaking of pandemic and community outreach, I understand that the team got to help out with that, with helping out the community during this whole quarantine situation. If you want to, if you could please.
Absolutely, absolutely. So community service is a core part of our team as well.
Mhm.
And it just so happened that our competition was like practically the eve of the pandemic. We didn't get a chance to have our next meeting to celebrate what happened, but we were already meeting online because we're spread all over the city.
Mhm.
The team wanted to do something to make a difference, and there was an initiative out to create 3D printed face shields for the medical workers, and we thought, let's do it. But we had one 3D printer, and it's slow. But we see every problem as an opportunity. We started asking others, hey, can we borrow your 3D printer? We want to create these PPE.
Mhm.
We joined a larger network of folks who had lots of 3D printers, and we started out having access to one. We now have access to 18 3D printers,
That's
uh,
amazing.
thanks to the community. Uh, we also, when we joined the larger network, uh, they're doing great work for hospitals, but our concern always has been the community. So unfortunately, I live in Auburn, Gresham, which happens to be the site of the very first COVID-related death. The woman who died could have been me. We were
Right.
a year difference in age, and she was a member of my community. So at that point, it became really very personal.
Right.
It was at first it was a really good community service project, but became kind of personal. I realized that my community was the one that's most affected. So I reached out to. I happen to also be a Chicago Peace Fellow, and
What exactly is that? What's a Chicago Peace Fellow?
um, so we represent organizations that are grassroots. They're doing work on the ground. We're actually out here in the streets, in the community, in the neighborhood, talking with the people that are there, teaching them other ways, showing this, trying to be a positive light to increase the amount of peace that happens there.
Right.
Building community is what it really boils about. We're building community because when I won't hurt my friend.
Mhm.
I'll think twice before I react. So we're trying to build community. So right now there are about 40 of us, 40
Mhm.
organizations. So I reached out to those organizations for help, and we established uh, neighborhood hubs where this PPE is being created and donated. We now have 7 across the city, and they're all located on the south or west side. So we're in the communities that are affected the most by who are impacted the most severely by the pandemic.
Mhm.
So we're all affected by the pandemic. No one is immune. However,
Right.
we're dying at a much faster rate. Of the first 100 people who died, 70 were African American.
Yes.
And we're 30% of the city's population. So
Mhm.
the impact has been significant. And the
Mhm.
one thing that's important to me with teenagers is that we need to let them understand they can make a difference. And as they start hearing all this stuff, it's just even more overwhelming. But the fact that they can now create these face shields, it gives them something positive to do. They can now protect their community.
Yes.
They recognize that their community is not just the person in front of them, because if I'm not healthy, you're not healthy.
Right. Now, how do you organize something like this in the middle of the pandemic when people can't sit next to each other? Like, how did you organize the process to get these face shields produced?
I talk a lot, first of all, but more important than that, we were already taking advantage of online meetings because our team is spread out and getting around is not easy. Teams don't have cars. So we were already accustomed to doing things remotely. And it truly was about reaching out to the network, reaching out to the Peace Fellows and talking to different organizations. They reached out to those. We also had some significant help from the museum and science industry.
Mm-hmm.
They are creating face shields for us at an amazing rate. In addition to the museum and science industry, there are several volunteers from the Adler Planetarium. So basically, Chicago has a lot of really good people in it.
Mm-hmm.
When this initiative started, those good people on the north side had the resources, and so they did what they could. Once I became part of the network, and they had a way of getting outside of the north side, they were quick to jump on board and help out.
Right. No, but I also want to know, like, how did you physically do it? Like when we spoke on the phone, it was about like people had to be in a certain place over here doing certain parts of the shield.
Okay. I got you.
Here, and it was just you guys organized.
So those physical hubs are locations where people can donate their 3D printed parts.
Okay.
At those hubs, we have people who sanitize it, create kits, package it for distribution, and then there are veterans who volunteer to come and they pick up the stuff that we prepare and they distribute it to the hospitals, the institutions, that individuals are getting it. So everybody is doing what they can, where they can. Our students, I have not seen my students since we competed together in the middle of March, not in the flesh, but we meet twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
We're together once a week for a class, and we have a meeting the second time. And they're safely at home printing the PPE so they can contribute to the cause as well. Our volunteers are safely in their homes contributing to the cause. And the veterans are the ones who are going from place to place.
Mm-hmm. And how many face masks, how many face shields have you been able to produce so far?
So collectively, and I'm talking about just the nodes that I'm working with, I did the numbers today. We've done over 8,000 shields in about a month because it took time for us to ramp up. We were making shields all along, but the actual volume now we're probably at the point now we can make about 1,500 a week at a slow pace.
How do the kids feel when they hear you say that collectively you've made 8,000 face shields?
Oh, they're pretty excited because at first they were. So it takes almost an hour, between 45 minutes and an hour to make one face shield, to print one frame. And so they didn't see their impact at first. But then as time went on, we post pictures. So I have someone posted, hey, I got 65 frames now. But when they hear how when we all pull together, they feel great. They're excited about it. They're really thrilled about it.
What's the name of the robotics team?
Our team is called Chicago Knights Robotics.
I love it. Who came up with the name?
Honestly, I did. We went through a couple of iterations. We talked about what was important to us. So our team has been around since 2005. So the students on the team now weren't on the team then because it's a high school team. Although I must admit, one of the original members is now a mentor and works for one of our sponsors. But over the years, we've talked about what was important to us, the team, and doing community outreach and community service was both important to us. The community service was, we always wanted to make sure we made a difference. And so the whole night thing kind of appealed to me. And I made an executive decision after we went through a couple of name changes and chose that.
It's a great name. So what is the next dream for the Chicago Knights Robotics? I mean, you've done community outreach. You got to participate in helping your community during this pandemic. You were doing your competitions and having a positive effect on the community. What's next?
As far as competition is concerned, we want to get back out there and do it again. So one of the things that we accomplished in the past is that we opened up a maker space. We opened the very first makerspace in America that was open to the public, open to the youth, and was free, and located in a mall, so that in a public space. We lost that space about 3 years ago. So at the moment, we are kind of homeless. What I would really love to see happen is us to find space again. In the time after, because the pandemic is, no matter how long it lasts, there will be a time after.
Right.
We want to be able to get together again. We are very blessed to be hosted on a college campus, but as a guest of the college, we are the last priority. So even when the campus reopens, we don't know if we'll be able to go back.
Right.
Or go back.
So you have a dream to have a permanent place for this place.
Absolutely. I would love to have a spot that, not just for robotics, because robotics is it's important. It's going to be very critical moving forward. But robotics is important mainly because it teaches you to think in a systematic way.
Mm-hmm.
And our whole world is based on systems. If you can understand robotics, you can understand almost any type of system.
Mm-hmm.
Space should not just support the robotics team. It should also support more artistic endeavors. As a matter of fact, I don't talk much about robotics anymore as much as I talk about the fact that we create icky projects. That's things that are interactive, kinetic, and intelligent. With all three, it is a robot. But an interactive art piece, it could be an intelligent experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
you want to create a maker space that combines science and art together.
Well, so here's the thing.
So with an emphasis on robotics?
I want to make a space that has an emphasis on STEM.
Okay.
However, I want to make a space that the community defines what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So the STEM emphasis is what I bring to it, but I still, art is just as important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Civic engagement is just as important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So the humanity should be represented there too. Drama. A makerspace is just a place where people come together to create something.
Right.
We shouldn't be defining for others what the makerspace should be. The community that comes into that makerspace is what defines it.
Right. When we were talking on the phone, you said that you wanted to make sure that it is not defined as a community center, that it is really this hands-on makerspace where people interact.
It is an activated space. It is definitely an activated space. People come in and they make it what they want it to be.
And it's typically for teens? Is that the
primary folks be teens and young adults.
Okay.
However, if I have a physical space and there's enough room, then we can certainly allow the younger folks to come in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's primarily for teens. Generally speaking, teens don't want to hang out where the 7-year-olds hang out.
Right.
So I'm really focused on the teens and those like up to 24, something like that. But primarily high school and college.
So while we were speaking, we got a note on the show saying somebody that SoftBank likes to help that we should reach out to SoftBank as they're heavily invested in robotics. And one of their executives is very interested in supporting education, which I think is great to think about, because I also wanted to say, there are a lot of people in the LinkedIn community who are part of business communities or nonprofits or other types of organizations who could help in this kind of endeavor. And so if somebody wanted to help, Jackie, what kind of help, what does that help look like to you? Like, what are your top 3 or 4 things that you want to get in terms of actual help from anyone in the LinkedIn community?
I think the number one thing that I really want is space, a space that we have some control over, because with that we can plan ahead and we can actually pursue those big dreams. Clearly, money is important, but I don't want the money. I want the things that money can provide us. Mm-hmm. So, the ability to support transportation for our young people is important. Mm-hmm. And that could take on any form, and it doesn't have to be cash. You just allow us to get the kids where they need to go. But the one thing everybody can provide is we're looking for people who are excited about what they're doing, who can come alongside the young people and show them what it's like after high school or after college. Sometimes when you think back when you were 15, you probably didn't give a lot of thought about what life's going to be like when you finally get to 30. I know you're not there yet.
Right.
But it's important for them to understand that there is a later, that whatever's happening now that's not going so well in your life is temporary. And if we can get them to look ahead, then that's certainly it's a big plus for them.
So we're thinking, okay, so you definitely want a physical space. What does a physical space look like? Is it commercial? Do you pay rent? Is it donated? Where is it located?
So ideally, it's a donated space that is an open space. It could be industrial space because transportation is an issue with space that the teams can get to independently.
Okay. So close to like some sort of public transportation?
Public transportation, ideally in an area that's heavily traveled so that they're safe. This is an after-school program. My kids are leaving at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. We have no problem sharing the space. We had 3,000 square feet. And I realized that some people, it choke when I say that, but we're building robots that can be 5 feet tall and have a footprint of almost 30 inches square. So we need room for it to move around. We're using industrial equipment, so we need room for that to operate safely. We also
3,000 square feet. So at least 3,000 square feet for at least what, 20 students or?
So 3,000 square feet that we can put a workshop in. We would certainly need space to accommodate about 20 to 25 students.
Okay.
We could get by with less than 3,000. However, I would much rather have the space so we can spread out and work safely.
Great. And then anything else like computer equipment or more 3D printers or any kind of help with crowdfunding or anything?
Yes, if someone can help with marketing, that'd be great. Important for the crowdfunding.
We cut out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said help with marketing would be wonderful because that's kind of important for crowdfunding. We only own one 3D printer. We have access to 18, but they're borrowed. And I'm certain when the pandemic is over and people can get back into their spaces, they're going to take them back.
Right. Okay.
So 3D printers could be very helpful.
How many printers do you need?
How long is a piece of string? So the point is that it depends what we do with them and how much space we have. So it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. Having 4 or 5 printers would be helpful, but if we don't have the space, then we would probably want to space something different.
Right.
It just depends on the kind of space that we have. So I can tell my ideal space looks like. My ideal space.
Tell us the ideal.
It has a machine shop that has. We own a couple of CNC machines. They're hobby-sized CNC machines. And
machines do what? What exactly do those do? They help with creating patterns?
They cut flat material in intricate patterns. So the students will learn how to design with 3D software, and then it sends the instruction to the machine and it cuts it out. So 3D printer is an additive process and it builds things up. The CNC cuts in a more or less a 2D level. We have a laser printer. A laser cutter that's still in a box because we don't have the space for it anymore. But having that, a second laser cutter and space to put them both would be great. We need typical machine shop tools. We need space for that. But there would be also a sort of a multi-purpose room that can be use as a classroom. So we can have a CAD shop, a computer-aided design shop, so those can design their stuff. And we need open build space. Robots can be kind of big.
Robots can be big.
More importantly, they need room to move around. A high ceiling is a plus. Because often the game has elements that are up to 10 feet tall.
Right. Well, Jackie, it sounds like you've got the dream all crystallized in your head. It's just a matter of time before it to happen for you. I know it will. Because you're such a determined person, Jackie. So my next question for you is, you've been able to create this amazing organization, build this beautiful team and help these young people see how they can make a positive effect on the world around them. not only immediately, but on many levels. What kind of advice do you have for other people who want to do something like this? Like maybe they have an initiative they want to launch, or maybe they have a dream they want to make come true, but they keep hearing the word no or can't, or they're afraid to, and it keeps going on in their head. Like, what do you say to people like that to help them work through that?
They have to first ask themselves a couple of questions. And the big question is, do I really want it? So you have to really want it. It's the difference between wanting and wishing. When you, I'm borrowing from someone else. I forgot who it was, so forgive me, whoever said it first. But you have to want something as much as you want your next breath. There's no doubt in your mind when you cannot breathe, there's nothing you won't do to get the next breath, no matter how difficult it is. When you want something that badly, you will work at it. You will ignore the no's. You will keep going in spite of the folks who say you can't. If one path is blocked, you'll go another way. I've heard plenty of no's along my way, trust me. But the one thing that's kept me going is that I failed to create a business plan, a business model for what I'm doing. I have been following a passion model. That passion model keeps me going. And I can see clearly what I want on the other end. I know where I'm headed. And so therefore, I don't have any real fear about failure. It's a sidetrack. And I am extremely, extremely comfortable with trying to cross over all the problems I have without knowing what's in front of me. I like to say that I am very comfortable crossing the bridge while it's still being built.
That's the kind of statement that's like, drop the mic and leave the stadium. Boom, you're done. Like, what? I think that just says it all right there. That's a perfect, summary of the whole impetus of this passion. Jackie, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, how can we do that? I think we put up your contact information before, but I want to make sure that that people know about it.
So they can email me at roboticslady@gmail.com.
Okay.
They can visit the organization's website, which is Agape Works with the E.
It's pronounced Agape. Agape
Works.
Okay.
Agape meaning love, unconditional love, and Works. It's really an acronym for Advocates for Giftedness and Parental Empowerment. It's Agape, and then Works is we encourage, recognize, and kindle success.
Oh, wow.
It's parents saying that we have to do better for our kids.
Right. Because it's AGAPEWERKS.
Yes, WERKS.org. Absolutely.
Right. And then you also have another email address, jackie.moore@agape.
And agapeworks.org. Absolutely.
Well, Jackie, I got to say, thank you so much for being with us on the show tonight. I mean, your story is just so inspiring.
Thank you, Megan. But my story is not just my story alone. I could not have done this without supportive adults, without motivated teenagers, without people who tried to block me even. So it all came together.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much. I want to thank you for being on the show tonight. And I got to say, I just know it's a matter of time before it's just, of course, the next dream is going to come true. It's just going to get bigger and better. And on that note, I want to thank the audience for joining us tonight as well. Thank you for listening to Jackie's story. And I think we have the contact information up for to be able to reach Jackie in case anybody has any bright ideas on how they can help her with her robotics team. And let's not forget, you can join us every weekday at 7 p.m. Central for more interviews with people who have a story to tell, because we all have a short story to share. And
I just wanted to hop in real quick, ladies. And I just wanted to tell you, first of all, both of you, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing your stories. It's so wonderful to see somebody taking these steps to not only educate, but to help people, and especially teaching young children the value, right? And learning how to, be generous, even though there's so many things going on. There's so many things they could other be doing. And yet here they are helping people, making face masks and protecting people and really donating their time. I think that's one of the richest things that I've ever heard because, people talk about money being, what causes everything. I think having a heart like that makes you so much richer in the end, building character for these kids. So wonderful job. And again,
I'm not building character. They have the character. I'm just actually highlighting it and letting them see it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're just actually bringing it to light. So I think everybody has that. So Megan, thank you so much for hosting the show. I do appreciate everything that you've gone through. Me through Jackie, thank you for coming on again. And guys, you can check out Jackie's website. That's www.agapeworks.org. You can also reach out to her, email her. I already had a few people kind of asking, how they can help. So I'm gonna forward that information and your email. So, because again, it's pretty important what you're out there sharing. I had Diana, who's been on my shows actually from Chicago. So she was one of the ones that she loves the initiative of what you're doing and what you're sharing in that community. So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
This is to me what the definition of making impact is in this world. You're actually not just talking the action, you're doing the action. So yes, in any way possible, I will be sharing this even after the show's over because I do want to get people your way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's a pretty worthwhile cause. And I talked about this yesterday on my show, just talking solo by myself about generosity. And generosity goes beyond just being, money. Generosity, you can be generous with time. You can be generous with, again, like you said, if they have a 3D printer machine, that's not cash, but that's something that you can be generous with to help. If you have an open space that you can work in that would help, that's
especially on the South Side.
Yeah, that's generosity because again, you're bringing. I don't know. I like to think of it as a ray of hope in all of the darkness that we see going on, and I love highlighting those people and those individuals. And both of you ladies. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
You've made my evening so awesome. I don't know what else to say. And, other than that, guys, I'll just go ahead and throw it to Megan and let her just get us out of here.
Well, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you, Megan.
And I want to thank the audience for joining us tonight. And you already know that you can check out the show here, LinkedIn Live, every night, 7 o'clock Central, that is, Monday through Friday, where we're sharing great stories about people creating differences in their lives and the stories that they're creating and sharing with others. And when you have a chance, please check out my podcast, Show We 8 Brainstorm in Progress, the creativity podcast for the creatively minded. It's on iTunes, Spotify Podcast, Google Play, and showy8.com. And follow me on Instagram at showy8wisewords and my daily posts on LinkedIn for your daily inspiration on staying creative. All right, Jackie, you want to help me say goodbye to the audience? Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. If I can figure out where the camera, please.
Make some bridges and cross them.
Yeah. Bye.